All right, and we're back to the live stream. Hopefully, it's on the horizontal. For those of you that are watching this episode after it's uploaded, there seems to have been a glitch with YouTube. It was playing horizontally. It was supposed to play horizontally, then it was playing vertically, like when you're seeing the image on the phone. So to catch you up, those of you that are watching in the future when this is uploaded, if I upload it now at this point, I just did the very simple block in. So it looks like someone's back. So can you tell me if you hear the audio and the direction is good? So is it like horizontal now? Is it working, Robert? So, okay, you said all good now. Oof, that was quite frightening. So, good, good, good. So, again, for those of you that will be watching this in the future, and of course, Robert, you can ask me any questions during the demonstration. I just started off the block in, but the YouTube app, the YouTube live glitched, so I had to redo the link. But in any case, these are the standard colors that you've seen in most of the demonstrations, and the photo reference is again not a picture I took from myself. Again, I'll upload it to the Facebook photo reference group later. Um, it's from a copyright-free site called Pixels. So okay, now we're back on track. So I'm just trying to get the orientation of the head a little bit here. So there's the concavity of the eye sockets, and this is toned with burnt umber oil paint about like 20 minutes ago now. Just odorless mineral spirits and burnt umber oil paint. So let's see, I have to subtract a little bit from here. To get the shape just right. So if you're on my Instagram, I'm also doing a larger painting from the same photo reference. I know it's kind of hard to tell without the photo reference of the same image. So now that I have the placement of the head, and hopefully the camera and the audio is working now, we should be able to move ahead with this painting. I don't want to put any details for any of the features just yet. So there's the side plane of the cheekbone, zygomatic bone. Moving on down towards the side of the orbicularis. Cast shadow over here. The shape of the hair comes down to about there. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill in just a little bit of a tone for the shadows and the hair mass together. So I'm going to unify all of these darks. So I didn't put any extra medium. And the odorless mineral spirits that was used to tone this is actually helping the paint move about very nicely. So it seems like the golden time frame for this kind of technique, like the wash of the burnt umber and the mineral spirits, is about like 20 minutes. Any longer than that, and it starts to get kind of sticky. A little too sticky, I guess. Shorter than that, then it gets too slick, which is kind of interesting. Again, I don't want too much, if anything, for the features. Now the model, so it's a female model wearing a red dress. So there's a little bit of a red dress down there. See, now it's starting to kind of get a little sticky there. It's starting to pick up the paint. So now I'm ready to move into I'm going to start mixing a flesh tone and then draw with the flesh tone. So that's about good for the outside shape. So now I'm going to reach over, get a palette knife. So just like with the paint-alongs, I'm going to mix up a base flesh tone just by kind of blurring my eyes at the image. So starting off with yellow ochre, titanium white, a little bit of the cadmium red, yeah, thanks again, Robert, for pointing out that the image was in that vertical view instead of horizontal. That would have really been a bummer if I finished the video and didn't notice that. It must have been a glitch because it showed up like horizontal on my phone. So a little bit more of the cadmium red. And this color is just going to help to draw. This actually accelerates the process like by a lot, I find. But another thing that helps is to subtract a little bit from the lights. So let's see if I can do this with the paper towel. Reboot the system. Yeah. I'm not much of a computer person, but yeah, we had to do a kind of a reboot for the stream. I'm very timid with how I'm subtracting this. I'm actually gonna get up and look for my little thing of microfiber cloth, so I'll be back in like 10 seconds. So let's see if the microfiber cloth subtracts a little bit more. It's kind of like a chamois when you're working with charcoal, and yep, it subtracts more. So I'm trying to subtract as much as I can and draw a little bit at the same time. So again, this is a standard old microfiber cloth that you can find in any store. I think this one was from, I think like Walmart. So drawing a little bit more for the forehead. And now for the side of the face. It's very light over here. And up over here. So this is why I always suggest people who want to get into oil painting to get really good at charcoal drawing or handling, charcoal handling, because this handles almost the same while it's in this stage. The oil paint handles almost the same. The landscape painting, oh, thanks. I'm glad you liked the landscape painting. Robert. I was a little concerned with that one. You know, the funny thing, the YouTube app, it tells you, like the app tells you if your subject, like the subject that you made your video on was doing well. The app, like the first hour or 2 hours was like telling me, it was like uh, somewhere along the lines of don't upload this content because viewers aren't interested or something. So it was kind of concerning. But I'm glad you liked the landscape. Yeah, the robots are telling me not to do landscape now. Doesn't mean that I won't. Yeah, it's out of my regular. Though I used to do a lot more landscape when I was younger. Before I got really interested in portrait. So it's probably when I was about like 17. But my main thing has always kind of been portraiture. I remember my first portrait from life. I painted my mother. I asked her to pose for me, and she absolutely hated it. Hated posing, and she hated the painting. And then she was furious when I told her that I wanted to be a painter after that. Come to find out later, it's actually the hardest thing to paint someone you know. Yeah, it's very difficult. You know the old Sergeant quote, every time I paint a portrait, I lose a friend. I think we can all kind of relate to that. Now I'm gonna do something a little different. Yeah, I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna use the burnt umber for the background at first, but mainly just to push this inwards, and then I'll get into the flesh tone. So this is a little more compressed. Let's see. I'm gonna push this shape in a little bit. So it's almost like an underpainting. I mean, you could create an underpainting in this way. My goal is to go over this. My goal really is to have it kind of limited chroma, more or less drawing with color. I actually intended to film a larger painting of this, the female wearing the red. I filmed a bunch of footage for a larger painting, but then I just ended up not uploading it. Just continuing the painting on my own, just because of how bad the daily videos went. It was in the style of the daily uploads that I used to do. So I think the paint-alongs are probably the most fun for me. Oh, sorry, I'm blocking the image. The most fun for me, and I think the most interactive for the viewers. Okay, so now that I have that, I will switch brushes and use this. And there's no extra medium on here. Not yet. I want a pretty thick application of paint. Even thicker than this. I'm gonna have to go back in and actually make it a little darker. So I want this base value to be kind of in the middle range. So I have some room. See how I have room now to go from this value to this one. So somewhere about like that. So the idea with this technique is to have very thick paint for the first little ground layer. And then we'll build onto this. We're very cautious of the abstract shapes. So I'm drawing a little bit, and at the same time I'm filling in a base coat, so to speak, for the light planes of the face. And for the mouth, I don't really need much just yet. Even this little angle here kind of helps me pinpoint where I'm going to place the mouth in the future. Now her neck is kind of turned this way. So actually one of her shoulders is raised, so that's what's making this weird angle. It's usually something like this, right? But one of these shoulders, this shoulder's raised. But I probably won't get to the shoulder. Okay, so now that I covered all of that, I'm gonna move this paint to the side. Move this to the side, or just take it out. Now we'll mix the good old color value web. So let's clean off the brush a little bit. So I have odorless mineral spirits below here. Yeah, on the landscape video, somebody said you forgot to beat the devil out of the brush. And it took me a second to get the reference. It was like when Bob Ross would be like moving the brush back and forth. So I thought that was kind of clever of a comment. So the titanium white. Yeah, I miss Bob Ross with his videos, though I was kind of too young when they were on TV. But he's kind of like the artistic symbol of peace and happiness, I found. In memory of Bob Ross, I'm doing a little crisscross strokes here to mix these flesh tones for the color value web. So just titanium white, yellow ochre, cadmium red, and now a little more cadmium red, sap green. Okay. So now the alizarin permanent. Still with the little crisscross strokes. The alizarin permanent and the sap green. And the way I get these colors is kind of blurring my eyes at the image. Sometimes I'll make this a little lighter, a little more pink. Other times I'll make it more orangey. Right now it's a little more orangey. Clean off the brush a little bit. Yeah, happy little accidents. Yeah, his legacy continues to live on. You know, the interesting thing, he took the term happy tree, I think, or happy something from Bill Alexander. You ever watch Bill Alexander? It kind of blew my mind when I heard him say happy tree, like before the Bob Ross videos. But everyone, I mean, every artist takes from their predecessors. I mean, that's how we learn. Yeah, Bill Alexander. He was pretty cool too. Alright, so I'll clean off this brush. Now we'll get into some of the forms for the face. Now this is the time to switch into the smaller brushes. So sometimes I'll just go in with the large values of the background. Other times I'll keep the colors rather limited, like this one, like this painting, and then just kind of draw a little more. So I change it up once in a while, just so I'm not doing the same thing over and over again. That's the bottom of the lower eyelid. A little bit more of the alizarin permanent. Ivory black. Gonna get a different brush. A little bit of the medium now. The Solvent Free Fluid by Gamblin. Ivory black. And remember, I just used this medium because it's pretty slow drying compared to Liquin and Neo McGilp. It claims to be a fast dryer. It's surely faster than, say, linseed oil or stand oil, but it's still relatively slow drying. So I need a little more flesh tone. And I'm going to focus on the main triangle. So there's the sclera color. Sclera color is going to be pretty dark on the other side, so I'll just kind of pre-mix this value and use it later. Alright, switching back to the other brush. Burnt umber, alizarin permanent, ivory black. Now we're going to put the this little accent mark here, where one form meets another, blocks out the light. Otherwise known as the upper eyelid. So there's a little eye shape there for you. Now, the trick with this is to, when you're working in this way, instead of more holistic, is to constantly relate the features around. And this is mainly kind of a drawing thing, but it's very important in painting as well. So right now, I'm going for this angle right away. And I remember I messed this angle up when I was painting the same image. So it kind of helps to do something twice, really. You remember all your mistakes from before. So this glare on the other side is pretty much in shadow, so it's gonna look weird without the shadow around it. So I'm gonna quickly move about to the bottom, constantly keeping the brush moving and prioritizing light and dark transitions. And using my color value web to kind of shortcut the time it takes for me to mix colors. Where is everybody? I had, I think, 2 more Livestream Tier patrons this month. Where did they go? I hope I didn't lose them in when the live stream glitched. So now we'll put in the upper eyelid. Oh dear. My laptop is going to die. Hold on a second. Yeah, I didn't see anyone else either, so I don't think I lost them that way. And I posted the link for the live stream tier. Yeah, sorry with all the computer glitches this time. What can we do? As they say, the show must go on. You know, I tell you what, I think the biggest thing that helped me in my development, this is just a random thought, in my development in drawing and painting portraits, was when I went to the school in Philadelphia called Studio Incaminati. And it's not so much, well, I shouldn't say not so much the curriculum. The curriculum helped me a lot, but what helped me a lot, yeah, the drawing at the school. When I was at the school, I don't think I painted in months. I was only doing charcoal drawings with vine charcoal, medium and vine charcoal. And I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me at least gain more confidence, because a lot of this takes confidence when we're learning how to obtain a new skill. I know I mentioned drawing a lot, but in particular the just spending so much time just drawing. Now for us, it was 2 semesters when I was at the school. Unfortunately, I couldn't finish the 4 years. I was only there for 2 semesters, but that really did help me more than I give it credit. All that time I spent drawing. I remember saying to my teachers that I hoped that I could paint the same way that I learned how to draw when I was at the school. Yeah, I don't know. That was just a random thought. Because I know that if I keep relating these shapes to one another, inevitably I'll be able to make corrections. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you focus on charcoal drawing and bark drawings. Yeah, the bark drawings are really important in learning how to simplify. You know, a lot of this is kind of barg-like thinking, like just these triangles. Yeah, and oil painting. Definitely still life. I was doing some still life on my own uh, when I would come home from school. But the majority of it is learning the language of drawing. And I'm full of random thoughts today. Once you get past a certain point in um, in drawing and painting, like trying to make realistic images and stuff, once you get past a certain point, I think the more difficult thing is figuring out what to do with it. Um, and for me, I think the answer was the videos that I've been making. I've been very fortunate to have the following that I have with the videos, and then adapting a style like this, where I can paint or draw and talk at the same time and still like learn how to multitask. Like to me, that's more important than just trying to create like a super realistic image. I don't know. I might be just getting too philosophical. I don't even notice the time passing. I'm looking at the little clock that I see up there. We're at 32 minutes. I'm still in the eyes. Should probably move around. Mastery doing things without thinking too much. You know what? That's a good quote. Yeah, mastery is when you're able to do things without thinking too much. Yeah, although I do find myself thinking a lot. So I clearly have a long way to go um, with this, especially this painting and talking thing. But I find I enjoy it much more than I once did in the past. In the past, I think, yeah, making it become second nature. I'm hoping so. I mean, I've been doing so many paint along style videos. I'm hoping one day it'll become like second nature to me. I'm gonna have to clean one of these brushes. So I have two of these brushes going on at once, but I've been mainly just using the one. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to get to that point where I can just paint and talk, and it just becomes like second nature. And I'm hoping these videos will be um, like what the bark drawings were to people in the past. Hopefully, it'll be something that can help people self-teach, so to speak. All right, so now for the nose. I was drawing out the contour here, not so much trying to fill in any of the shadow mask yet. I want to put in a kind of warm, reddish dark light. So, Robert, are you in the photo reference group on Facebook? I think you are, right? I think I remember adding you on there. Okay, good, good. Yeah, sorry, my for me keeping track of so many things. Yeah, so I'll post this picture. I gotta see though how I can do that without. I mean, the site where I got this picture from, called Pixels, they claim that you can use it without having to provide attribution. I was just really running low on photo references. So I'll post it and I'll maybe Photoshop like a little stamp or something of the original photographer. Try to avoid any kind of trouble. Although I've noticed a lot of other people using the same site, Pixels. Some of the other YouTube artists that I've seen, I've noticed they use the same kind of pictures from those sites. So in theory, it should be all right. I'll throw in a little highlight. So burnt umber, ultramarine blue, lizard permanent. Want to get the dark for the nostril. And that's where it all begins for the nose, at least with me. Just a little accent like that. So there I just mapped out the wing of the nose. Now I'm going to walk my way towards the mouth now. And once I have all of the features placed in there with just a few simple values, I'll probably jump into the background color and such. So I like to start off with the top middle of the mouth. So following the philtrum down to here. Just this little point itself gives me the placement of the mouth. It also gives me the orientation, like the angle of it. A mark here, a mark here. A little more alizarin permanent. So I don't want the mouth to be any longer than this. Although on the model, I noticed her philtrum was a little bit longer than what I'm used to. So in the video I just uploaded about likeness, so I got the idea for that topic based off of the mentor tier critiques here on the Patreon. So a lot of it was patrons, artists asking me about likeness. So I decided to make a video talking about the same kind of things that I was mentioning to them about likeness and how to achieve likeness without copying a picture. It's a very kind of gray area. Speaking of gray, I'm putting a little bit of a grayish tone here for the teeth. I'm going to minimize that, certainly. I usually put a little bit more than I need. first. Kind of like somebody working on a sculpture, putting in a little bit more than they need so they can cut into it, make it more precise. So I don't want too many values for the mouth. I'm probably going to end up moving it, so just a few little indicators. It's a little compressed. I might have to move it. Okay, so now that I've drawn out the features, now I can go ahead and start to put in the rest of the colors. So now I'm going to switch brushes. The background is pretty much kind of like a greenish dark, so sap green, burnt umber. Let's just try using this on its own. Can also use it to draw, to cut that in a little more. So that's just going to help me draw the contour. I could actually move the nose. I have it a little compressed. So I'll switch brushes. So usually when you put in some kind of new information, you can see differences in your drawing more easily. So yeah, I have quite a distance I can move this. So somewhere about like that. You'll see the differences when I put the picture for the photo reference. So her nose comes out to a point here for the bulb. And with the same brush, very cautious with this contour. All right, so now I'm going to put a little bit of mineral spirits and medium, ivory black, sap green, a little more mineral spirits, just cover. A little more. And then I'm going to change the temperature with the alizarin permanent. So I want it really dark for the hair. A little more sap green. I'm trying to move my hand so it doesn't cover the shot. Dark of the hair. The hair goes all the way down past the frame here. Now while we have that, switching brushes. Oh, that's probably creating a really bad glare. Gonna try to move this for you. It doesn't glare too much. So sap green, burnt umber, yellow ochre. Just going to compare the shadow color to the hair. That's kind of hard to see with the glare. Apologize for that. It's about one value lighter. It's very dark, the shadow side. Could be the contrast in the picture. So I won't overdo this. Or I'll try not to. There's a little bit of secondary light in the picture. So a little bit of secondary daylight catching here that I may or may not put in. One thing that's needed, however, is a little more clarity. So yellow ochre mixed into this area here. A little more clarity for the side of the side top side of the orbicularis. It's a mouthful. And then there's actually a shadow underneath here for the red dress. So I won't stress about that too much. Don't even know if I will put in the red dress. Probably should. I want the brush strokes to show a little bit for the background there. And then the hair, there's a few light planes here. So let's use a warmer value for now. Put in the light planes of the hair. Then we'll go back into the face. The reason I'm doing this before going back into the face is that in the picture, the hair is actually covering a little bit of the model's eye here. So I should just cover that first. Not the entire eye, of course. Now with Portraiture, you kind of want to sneak up to things. I used to hear this term quarter it. So if you see something like a value change, quarter it. So do a little bit of it first. So I'm actually kind of doing that with the hair. The hair is a lot lighter, the light areas of the hair, but kind of slowly, cautiously walking my way up to those values. Okay, so now to get back to the face, let's go into the middle tones. Very distinct middle tone there. Let's get back into the darks, push the dark here. So this is where all the work really begins. the middle stages. I know we're 10 minutes short of an hour, but it's kind of just beginning. And just like the term quartering it, like I was saying before with the hair, I'm also kind of doing that with the face. Now each change is not going to be a monumental change, but I'm going to be rather working my way up little by little. The lip's a little bigger than I have it. I'm really trying to squint my eyes at the image so I don't put in too much that I don't need. So Robert, have I missed anything? I haven't been looking at the screen. So the questions usually come over here and the question shows for about 5 seconds. So did I miss anything? So I'm just looking at the screen now. Okay, good. Yeah, just double checking. As the comments come right about here, though you can't see it, it just disappeared. So it's probably less than 5 seconds that the app gives you to read the questions. Usually people will have like a crew, like someone that will read off the questions. But I don't have a crew just yet. Bottom plane there. And there's a highlight on the lower lip. I should probably place the white and red gives us pink, and more titanium white gives us a light pink, which is what we want. So a little bit of a highlight there. I'm going to switch brushes. So the dark beneath here. All right, so switching brushes again. Now with the dark light, so that is the halftone just as light transitions into shadow, I'm using it to draw out the terminator line. So the terminator line being the line that terminates light into shadow. Usually in a drawing, you just use a line to indicate that. But I'm using this halftone to put in the dark light and draw the terminator line at the same time. So a lot of multitasking. A little bit more red. Now I have to correct the bottom, the chin. So a little bit of medium, mineral spirits. Very slowly. Almost have to hold my breath for that mark. Okay, so now I have to do the same out here. I have a lot more distance here than is on the image, so this is probably my biggest mistake. I was frontalizing the image a little bit without even noticing. You know, a lot of times with these paint-alongs, when I'm editing it on the computer, I'll notice mistakes like the one I just uploaded. I had like the model's neck too thick, but by the time I'm editing it, there's nothing I can do. But it's okay, we're not making a photograph. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is get a, hopefully this is dry, so clean and dry synthetic, very carefully. Make his edge soft. Oh, gotta be careful with that. It's almost like walking a tightrope around the contours. So the lower lip actually meets the side of the contour here. I didn't pick up on that till later. Still very careful with the edge quality. I'm actually going to sit back. That's not so bad for just under an hour, I hope. Now this is what makes this process a little bit faster because I'm going in with this outline, whereas in the classical approach, I would start with this outline and spend a long time with that outline. But in this technique, I'm kind of trusting my drawing, or my ability to draw, trusting myself that I will catch mistakes such as this, that I had the forehead a little tall. So trusting that I'll catch these mistakes later on. So that's what makes this technique very fun, but also very difficult. You kind of have to reserve the, I don't know, put your pride on reserve with this technique, I guess. I find that it's a lot more difficult to draw this way than in the classical technique. It's more difficult, but in a weird sense, it's more fun. especially to demonstrate it. I can see why Bob Ross and Bill Alexander chose Alla Prima. So now I'm actually neglecting a big portion of the hair. For some reason, I don't know why I'm neglecting it, but the hair, I'm actually not seeing this much of the neck in the image. So the hair does block this off. Yeah, Robert, I agree. You have to enjoy the process. What's odd is that I'm really enjoying this, like talking and painting, um, not only just live stream, but when I'm talking and filming at the same time. There's a lot of fun involved in it, and it's not the most beneficial thing for my paintings. My paintings don't end up being as realistic, but I find the process, at least when I sit and watch the video after I create it, I find that this is the kind of video I would want to watch. You know, like if I were to be watching like Nelson Shanks, like one of my favorite painters of all time, creating a painting, I would want him to do it like this. Or like John Singer Sargent, I would want him to do it like this, where it's almost like he's inviting you into the process, as opposed to like filming it, editing it, and then voicing it over. I feel like it creates a kind of disconnect. I mean, not that I'll never do the voiceover. I'll definitely do voiceover again once in a while. But I just find this more fun, I guess. It's more fun and interactive. So I'm just going to unify this. So I'm kind of blending it into the shadow. Always good to be live. Yeah, I prefer these. So I wish there was a way to to monetize this a little better than what's going on with YouTube. I don't know if you're aware, but with YouTube, it's not as simple to survive off of YouTube as it may have been in past years. A little bit more light for the hair. That's why something like this, like Patreon, is helping me so much. It's helping me so much more than I ever thought it would or it could. It's a little bit darker here. But anyway, back to the topic of the painting. I'm going to again reassess this. As I was saying in the picture, when you see the picture, you'll notice there's a secondary light source, which is something I usually avoid. But since I didn't take this picture, I don't really have the luxury of avoiding it. So I'm kind of editing the picture as I'm painting it. So I'm going to just add a few more value transitions here. And then clean off the brush. And it's going to be really light right around here. It's also the sharpest edge. It's a little more medium. Now it's just an optical illusion that it looks white over there, as it's much darker here than there. It's kind of an optical illusion. That looks almost white to me, but it's not. Gonna use the same light once again down here. And the lip, I find that the highlight for the lip is actually lighter, but that could just be the photograph, so I'm not really gonna mess with that. Oftentimes I have to guess or kind of guesstimate what is what's something that wouldn't appear if I was working from life. The photograph almost looks straight white on the lips. I don't think I would see that working from life. So I won't put that in. So there's a little highlight. Actually, I'll use the back end of the brush on the eye. It's missing on the other side in the picture, but I'll put it in here. And I'll switch back to the halftone brush. A little too warm for my taste. So I'll start to put in some of the side planes there. And we'll also kind of blend in with the hair. I'm missing an angle here. So Robert, I was actually lucky enough this semester to have enough students in my drawing class. So I'm teaching both a drawing class and a painting class, along with running my portrait group. I have a Tuesday morning portrait group, and along with the YouTube videos and Patreon. But I'm fortunate enough to be teaching the drawing class. And one thing I always find that's very helpful in my drawing class to point out to my students is to focus on their cone of vision. Now, this is not really something I can demonstrate on video just because you can't see me unless I have multiple camera angles again. But I usually will tell my students to stand back, maybe about like 8 feet or something, stare at the painting and at the model at the same time and kind of memorize where they are 8 feet away and make decisions 8 feet away. So though you can't see me, I've been standing back, and that's how I saw this. So sometimes we'll get tunnel vision, I find, in a drawing or in a painting, and we kind of shrink down our cone of vision. So our cone of vision, of course, gets smaller like the closer we get to the painting. So that's why I try to encourage my students to stay as far back from the painting as possible, or the drawing. Sight size? Oh, no, not sight size. Though I've done sight size before, but yeah, sight size is pretty helpful too when you have the model here, but no, that's not what I meant. I meant just standing back 8 feet. looking at the painting and then the model. The problem with site size is with a larger class, I'd say a class with more than like 5 people, uh, if you're to work site size, the model's head will almost be like this compared to like the size that we can paint using, oh, what's the word? What's the word? What's the opposite of site size? Now my brain is forgetting. Comparative measurement, yeah, yeah. So that's the opposite of site size. Not the polar opposite of site size, but that's when you're making judgments on your drawing based on comparison. So why don't I use site size? Is that what the question was? I don't use it mainly because it will restrict the size of the painting or the drawing. And I usually don't have enough space because I'm always working with other artists. I usually don't have enough space to work site size. But if I had more space, I would, yes, I would work closer to life or site size. Because it does help to compare your work. You'll especially find that, Robert, with the bark drawings, if you're doing the bark drawing site size, it helps a lot to see the differences. And in fact, when I did bark drawings, I did use site size. And with cast drawings, I did use site size. But it's just not practical in an art studio setting where you have other artists working with you. Yeah, yeah, this trains the eye, along with the site size, of course, trains your eye as well, but this is kind of a different um, way of approaching proportions and measuring just because you're relying a lot more heavily on your eye. I heard Sargent would do, site size. I can't confirm nor deny, but I've heard that Sargent used to work site size. And if it worked for Sargent, you know, the old saying. So now I'm putting in kind of all the little tiny half tones. This is alongside of the Clipella. Got to something to it. The site size, yeah. Got to. Oh yeah, there does have to be something to the site size. I mean, site size though I never really use it. When I did use it, it was almost automatic proportions for me. Because, you know, with site size, you compare the model. Like, if the model's head is, like, right here, you can just eyes, nose, mouth, and done. Like, you have your proportions pretty much. I don't want to say it's easier than working this way, but from my memory, it kind of made it a little easier. Exercise, yeah. Exercises to make you better. I mean, I find that it's all kind of beneficial, really. The highly realistic portraits, the more loose, abstract ones like these. But what really helps, I find, is teaching a class. I've been teaching my in-person classes for I think like 2 years now, almost 2 years. And it really has helped me kind of clarify a lot of the concepts in my head, just the very act of explaining it to other people, like in a physical classroom setting, along with explaining it through YouTube. Um, a lot of the YouTube explanations, like, the sayings that I always have, like make things simple and easy so that when the time comes to make changes, those changes are simple and easy to manage. I don't know if I would have come up with that on my own without making videos. So even, the act of like doing a voiceover or something, or painting and talking, it helps to come up with more techniques or more ideas that are beneficial to painting. So I think it all helps. So I'm running out of paper towel. Hold on a second. All right, just replenish the paper towel. So let's see. Now I'm going to keep moving about the picture. I think I'll probably go back into this portion of the image. So let's see here. Switching brushes. Suprasternal notch down here. So kind of the midway portion between the clavicles. I put the clavicle a little bit too high. Let's switch back into this brush. I don't want the clavicles to be too dark either. So I decided I'll put a little bit of the information in here. The model's shoulder. I'll go in and put the shadow with the drawing brush. Whoops. So using a little bit of the sap green. I don't want it to be too cold, then it'll look like a bruise on her arm. So one of my pet peeves with painting is things meeting up with the corners. So I think if I were to draw it true to the picture, I would probably end up about here. So I'm just going to move her arm a little bit further out there. And then this shadow extends to about here. And now switch brushes. We'll get into the red dress. So just alizarin permanent. I'm going to let it mix into the colors that are already there. The nice thing is that alizarin permanent, along with the regular old alizarin crimson, they're transparent. So it's pretty simple to just kind of blend it into here. A little bit of ultramarine blue. Then I'm going to switch into the cadmium red. just mixing it directly, leaving some little planes for the dress. And then I really have to start putting in these shapes that I've been avoiding for the hair. So let's just mix directly onto here. It's very dark back here. And over here. So I have to put some kind of dimension into the background. Just to get these colors to read a little bit better. I'm always surprised at how fast this technique is. Some light shapes over here. And some more highlight regions over here that I was kind of avoiding. So you always want the hair color to be a little bit warmer than you think it needs to be, just to avoid, unnecessarily adding like gray hair to a model that doesn't have gray hair. Of course, there's nothing wrong with gray hair. It's actually one of my favorite colors to paint. I did a studio painting of a model, I think in her 80s or something. And it was so much fun. She had curly gray hair, almost white curly hair. It's a lot of fun to paint. Expressive. Yeah, it's a pretty expressive face with the mouth slightly open. Again, this picture is from the Pixels website with they have copyright-free images for artists and creators. Now, I wish I could take pictures like this one. Oh, the gray-haired lady. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh, you saw that one on my Instagram? Yeah, that one was a while back. Yeah, that was a while back. And that one was nearly all from life. Gonna stand back. Okay, so now I'm going to have to pick and choose which areas I want to develop a little further. on this painting, and I think I'll develop the eyes possibly a little more. Yeah, unfortunately, the model with the gray hair that we were talking about, she was supposed to pose for my open studio, my portrait painting group. I have 6-week poses um, with my painting group on Tuesdays, but she was hospitalized that day. Not that day, that week. She was in the hospital, very sick. So I think she's okay now, but she had like stomach problems. Would have been nice to do a larger painting of her. Health comes first. So a little bit of light catching. The bottom eye lid right over here. Gonna sit back. Okay, now let's take a look at the other lower eyelid. So just kind of like a graphite drawing. I'm trying to make edges more descriptive. This still has to turn in a little bit more. So I'm just a little quiet now because I'm trying to figure out where to go from here. I think I should put, there's a little bit of window light here. So let's just go ahead and put that in. It's kind of like a reflected light. It's almost like a reflected light, but it's coming from the window. I'm gonna draw the contour of it first. Then I'll switch to a larger brush. Little light catching the tear duct. Alright, so bigger brush. Not much bigger, but enough to cover the surface. I'm going to stand back. Hopefully that makes some sense. I also noticed with this photo reference, there's quite a lot of makeup on this model. That's another thing to be cautious of. Especially with photo references that you didn't take, other than the whole copyright thing. There's a little light here. So at first I didn't want to put that window light, but the further I get, I think the more necessary it becomes. And now I have to describe this light passage here, or else it'll look like a whisker. So I want to make sure that these angles make sense. And then of course I'll kind of minimize that. So usually when I put some kind of new information in like that, I'll overstate it and then go and make it more subtle. But you have to be brave and put it in bold, put in the shape bold first, then adjust it. So now I'm adjusting it. Yep. So Robert, everything okay with the stream? And hopefully nothing's glitching or malfunctioning. All right. Yeah, thanks for checking that for me, Robert. Hopefully everyone else will enjoy this footage once it's uploaded or made public next week. It's taking the two of us to make sure that this footage stays and doesn't glitch like it did before. It's a collaboration here. Now for the mouth. Something, starting to look strange. The start looks strange. The painting, or is the app starting to mess up? The beginning. Oh yeah, in the beginning, right? Yeah, when I started the footage, like the first few seconds I mentioned. Yeah, I mentioned in the beginning of this one that it was the second time I had to upload the live stream link just because it glitched. But hopefully the audience will still continue watching. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about with the app. It's the first time it's ever messed up that bad. at least with me. Few little strands of hair. Even one there. A little more mineral spirits. So the few strands of hair can describe the many. Just caught a little drawing mistake here. So her glabella actually comes out a little more than I was describing. Trying to get a little more for likeness. Let's see if I can do a little zoom. I'm gonna move this. You won't see the palette as much, but hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing a little better. So I'm just kind of gonna put the halftone for the sclera, make it a little more descriptive. Hopefully you can see this all right with the zoom. Now, of course, the other side. Very subtle. Hope the exposure isn't too high. So where this once was just one simple plain chop, I'm now subdividing it into multiple little planes now. I'm seeing a little more of the nasal bone in the image than I have here. I'm just using a synthetic. I believe I got this Princeton synthetic brush from Michael's, so nothing too fancy. I'm really trying to put more specificity here. Kind of pushing the contrast there. So in the picture, there's a lot less distance here between the nose and the side of the face. So I'm trying to consolidate this shape now. It's now or never. While I'm at it, I can also adjust the chin. Such tiny little shapes. I'm gonna sit back. I think we're getting there. Could do a little bit more over here. So let me know if you want me to switch the camera angle back to where you can see the palette and the painting. I just thought I would do this for a close-up. Just because I know the quality of the phone isn't quite like the quality of the camera, the main camera that I use. So right now I'm just putting a little more depth into the terminator edge of each of the shadows. And now I'm looking for all of the little tiny adjustments in value that I can make to create more depth in the painting. So I'm going to put a little light even on the teeth. Tiny, tiny. Almost nothing. Alright, let's get back into the regular view. Now you can see all the changes. Hopefully now that the camera's a little further back, you can see all of the refinement that's been going on there. And now you can see the palette again. I think I made that too dark. This is the only thing I'm kind of skeptical of. The light. So what I usually say, when in doubt, blur it out, but not yet. Because there's a little light here too. Maybe that'll help, excuse me, to clarify this. It's a very complex lighting situation. If I squint, I actually see a little more brightness over here. Which might make more sense. Gonna stand back again. So we're 4 minutes short of 2 hours, I think. So Robert is still with me. I know it's been a while. Yep. Yep. Thanks for staying with me there, Robert. So hopefully you can see a little more of the refinement. I know I was quiet for quite a long time, but you can see a little more refinement in the face. I think I'm taking this one a little further, probably than the YouTube video that I just uploaded. But yeah, I'm just trying to push a little more form into the face. So I usually say that I like to use large brushes. Thanks, Robert. I usually will use large brushes to cover more. But right now, if you notice, I've been with this one brush. Again, just got it from Michael's. It's nothing exotic. But yeah, I've just been kind of one brushing it, just moving around each one of these little areas. See how I'm making the mark? Let's zoom. I'll show you what I'm doing. It's almost like little tiny hatch marks. See as far as the phone can go. The only thing is the brightness of it, but I don't know how I can adjust that. Let me see if I can adjust my studio light. So here's what I want to show you. Almost like a cross-hatching with a pencil. I'm going in with each one of these little grains, if you will, of the canvas. Just kind of filling them in with value to get the form to turn. This is like pixels almost to a picture. So rather than trying to blend them in, I'm going in and just physically filling in all of these little shapes. And this is what will help with the realism. That's what you're thinking too. Yeah, it's kind of like pixels almost, really. Because now a lot of the changes are in the small world. Now let's zoom out again. I'll adjust the lighting shortly so you can kind of see what we've been doing. With just that one little passage there. I just returned the light back to how it once was. So you can see a little more. I think we're pretty much almost there with this one. We just passed the 2-minute mark. 2-minute, really. The 2-hour mark, so I think getting there. Anything past the 2 hours kind of scares me with the live stream. I don't want the footage to get lost or anything like that. So what I usually do around the end is adjust edges and just put in like little tiny highlights on the hair. A little more mineral spirits. Let's adjust the edge of the shoulder. It's a little brighter there. I don't think you can see this on the phone. The addition of the ultramarine blue kind of gives me the ultimate dark. So it's making this even darker. So I'm trying to push the contrast as far as possible now with the hair. And I kind of want to leave this corner here like a vignette. We'll push the hair out a little further. So right now I'm really thinking about the way this will look when photographed, the painting that is. And the size of the painting I forgot to mention. So this is a 8 by 10 inch. So once I take off the tape, it'll be 8 by 10. And it's nice to paint on these canvas sheets, just because once I'm done, like I'll just leave it here for a week, and then the next time I have to film, just take this off. This is all dry, and it's ready to be mounted onto a panel, or I just leave it. It doesn't take up as much space, so that kind of helps. So just final little adjustments to the background. But I think this, for the most part, is done. Just adding some texture to the background. So do you see anything, Robert, that you think I should address in here before we call this completed demo? Thank you. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're about to call it. I'm just kind of blurring the background a little bit, just so this will look a little more appealing. I guess the background. It's a little light blur back here. I always like to have a little contrast back here, you know, like so the light travels across the image. I think that should be about good. So we're about 2 hours and almost 7 minutes in. I would really like to do one of these like 4 hours or something, but just really cautious with the YouTube app not failing me. Okay, I think we'll leave it at that. So any last questions, Robert, before we end the stream? Part 1, part 2? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I can do a part 1, part 2, but I don't know about with live stream. I'd have to figure out how that can be done. I'm not really a tech expert in this field of you know, producing videos. Hopefully I can get a team to help me with that in the future. I'm just, as always, going back into the hairline. So yeah, I like that idea, Robert, with the part 1, part 2. So any other concerns with the painting before we call it? And you can always just contact me on Patreon if you have any questions as well. All right. Thanks again, Robert, for watching. And thanks to everyone that is watching this in the future. If you would like to watch more videos like this, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you would like to watch this live, remember, first Saturday of every month, 12 o'clock p.m., you have to be on the live stream tier on Patreon to have access to the link to watch this live. Again, thanks again, Robert, for watching. And this will conclude the live stream painting demonstration for March. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Yep, thanks again. See you next time.